been said since yesterday, the working in the business is where agents go, right? What are my tactical things? What are the things I have to do? What are the daily doings? What's my list look like? That's the stuff. And that's working in your business. That's great. Very important. But working on you is the highest level. And then working on your business is the highest level of your business. It's the strategic side. It's the, what does it look like when it's done? Not how do I get a deal? And I think where a lot of agents get lost in the big picture is they get stuck in the small picture. They get stuck in transactional doings and never lift themselves up long enough to see how I want to build a business. And of course, if I think that way, then I might even be thinking beyond my own capacity, meaning it's not just what I can sell, but it may be some buyer's agents, it may be an assistant, maybe building a team, which, we call it that, but it's building a business. It's business building stuff 101. It isn't, the team, oh my gosh, this concept of team. It's just building a business. That's what it is. Dr. Jones, I go there, I don't expect him to be at the front desk greeting me and taking my cash at the end and setting appointments. He's got a team of people. There's just people in a business, and that's what makes it work. So I think, Michael, that's probably the biggest thing I see. It's getting out of tactician mode and get into strategic mode.
Yeah, and also I'll also comment on that. I really feel like there is a huge gap between the transactional and putting food on your table and paying the bills and working in your business, and the huge gap from working in your business and that pull, which is the reality of day to day when you're doing business, right? You got to close more transactions. You've got to, hire a new agent, and then working on your business. I mean, you have to be willing, if your goals and your vision is big, you got to be willing to work overtime for a while, right? To get to that. You're working in your business 40 hours a week, and you're working on your business however many you choose to dedicate to it. And so really just knowing that, in order to be extraordinary, you're going to have to put in an extraordinary amount of focus on working on your business in the free time that you have.
I agree completely, and our ratio here at Octum and throughout my career to date is you do 40 to 60, and you do another 20 to 40 on top of that early on, especially when you're in the infancy stages more than but as you grow it as well. So that rings true to my life experience. So one of the things that comes up a lot, as I would say a little bit of a straw man criticism, but is that, hey, growth may translate into the expansion of the business, but it's not always the case. What is true growth as a business, but also in terms of people who run this business, who run the business. And I think where this question kind of comes from is, if I do this personal and professional development stuff, will from a standpoint of focusing on you and focusing on, will it really pay off, right? Does it really lead to the results?
Yeah, great question, Michael. And by the way, I wanted to say we watch you guys work your butts off over there, so I know what it's like to work in and on and put in that time. I'll handle this real quickly. I think that there's the part where you can't get bigger until you get better. And the thing is, and I've got a couple people in my life, both billionaires, that I have made this comment about, and that is they connect dots most people can't see. And a lot of that is just their awareness. So when you start growing, you have more, you see more, like the playing field. It's like getting better in sports or getting better in anything. You see things differently, things unfold differently for you. And so truly, I believe the growth comes first, the awareness comes first, the top of the funnel, to use a marketing term, top of the funnel is you, right? It's your presence. And I think, we can talk about this. I'm not sure where we're going to go with all this, but how big you think is absolutely a bigger dictator of your success than how hard you work, which goes back to, what we just said, you're going to put in the hours, but it's far more important that you are a big thinker and really doing that. And of course you have to act, massive action, Ron used to say. But the bottom line is, if you think big, you're going to have a better chance at achieving and connecting big dots with opportunities that sit in front of every single one of us that many people don't see.
Well, and also growth, Michael, you said it translates into the expansion of the business, which would also translate into the bottom line revenue increasing. However, if you really look at growth, every single setback, every single failure, and actually that came up for us the other day. We were talking about there is no such thing. If you have a mindset that really every single thing that feels like a setback is an opportunity to learn and to get better, it's, it won't always reflect in the outside looking in. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the bottom line in the tax return at the end of the year doesn't look like you wanted it to. But that's your opportunity to take inventory, figure out what you could have done different, and then implement that next year.
Yeah. No,
Michael,
go ahead.
I was going to add one more piece of that, and I had a very new experience. As you know, we just took over Success Magazine, and I'll tell you one of the interesting things. The very first meeting we had with the team. And we're sitting there trying to introduce them to us and get to know each other. And Glenn Sanford made a comment which was really impressive. And he said, guys, we do not have to turn this around and make money for the sake of making money. We need to do it right. We need to build something that is incredibly powerful and impactful on lots of human beings. And when we do that, we will be a great business. When we do that, we will be profitable. When we do that, we will win. So I just thought that was a good distinction that many people could walk away from this talk from and just go, wow. So I need to focus on doing it the right way, being great. The rest will follow.
Yeah, one of the things that I really appreciate about how I've seen you two run the business and Experts Realty, Allison, is that you are not just you have this phenomenal mindset, but you also are very deep into these leading indicators, right? Doing the work that you need to do, the results will come, which is, I think, what Glenn is was alluding to, is that if you put in the work, the result. It's similar to what Rowan used to always say, is that if you want to see change you first, right? It comes from that internal side. And what I would say, even at our org, is we have a leadership training series that myself and a couple of the other executives at the company run. And the very first day of it was, why are you here? Why are we here? What are we trying to achieve? And then all the activities and so forth flow out of that. And if we can combine those two together, having that mindset of knowing why you're here, then doing the work, the results will come after that. It's just proven itself over and over again. So we're going to launch a poll right now. Do you think that the virtues of leadership can be developed through training? I'm curious to hear both of your answers, and we'll see what the crowd has to say.
Can the virtues of leadership be developed through training? Well, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Develop through training. I really think so funny. You Are What You Eat came into my head, but you are the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And so the training, we have leadership events. I've gotten so much from just being around big thinkers. And that comes through, offering the training and the opportunity to the people in your company, to the agents that you work with in every capacity. And so absolutely. I mean, I think that it starts with a big goal, a big audacious goal, and a huge vision. And it absolutely can be developed. Just, continuing to remind people of what they're capable of and not to think too small. And that absolutely can be done in training, but then also developmental opportunities. Again, when there's a challenge, when there's something that, agents are gonna, there's things that happen in real estate every single day, right? That allow you to develop leaders. And it could be in how you're handling, all parties in a transaction, what you decide to do next. So yeah, I love that question.
And I'm going to say absolutely what she said. Yeah, it absolutely can be trained. Absolutely. Nobody's born a leader. It's never going to happen. It is always developed. And it has to do with, again, some of those same factors we talked about. Reading is going to be a big part of it, learning from other people's experiences. I was 24 when I took over Jim Rohn's company and became president. Nobody's supposed to do that at that age, but I learned from thousands of books and so many conversations of being around top people. You grow into leadership.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I would completely agree. And I think as again, going back to that first kind of part where you both were talking about the different levels of focus on personal, professional, and so forth. I think in the industry, we can get very tactically, too tactically focused at time, where all the training may just be on scripts and what are you saying? And it was phenomenal. Justin Shepard from the agency Texas was on before, and he said, listen, you need to be aware in your one-on-ones, before you go do the accountability work, you need to actually be aware of what's happening in that person's life. If you want them to level up, you need to know what their goals are and so forth. And so focusing on whether it be leadership development training or some of these other things outside of just, you need to adjust this one line in your call script or your buyer offer is incredibly important as well. That's phenomenal. Let's see. I'm curious to see what the audience said. So maybe we can pull up the poll results here.
Hey,
so
woohoo!
The audience agreed with us. A few that said nay. Would love to you drop. I'm curious. You can drop it in the chat. Would love to hear what some of the people are saying of where it can be developed. Because I mean, hey, I'm open to all opinions and ideas, and I love hearing other people's thoughts. So the final thing on this section before we move on is growing a business means going through failures and learning from them. Can you both maybe share a story or two from failures and what you learned to inspire everyone who's on the line, and frankly to help us here at Octum? We love hearing from you folks. So
I'll go. I mean, first of all, if you can't list them out, your goals are too small. And if they don't make you laugh, you probably need to really just understand and value those failures and experiences. And one of my most, I think the big game changer for me was a handful of years ago. I believe that what Don and I are doing within our real estate company is the single greatest opportunity that real estate agents have ever had in front of them ever. And that's my personal opinion. And here I sit there, I've been with this company 5 years, and my business partner who brought me into the company and I decided we were gonna go chase a squirrel, because I'm of the mindset I can create any business I want. It was kind of wanting to help people, but literally, I mean, taking your eye off the ball. We started a company and actually shut it down. And I mean, the biggest lesson of, first of all, I don't even think there is such thing as failure. Was that a failure? Did we fail? Well, we wasted a whole lot of time. We took our eye off the ball. But what did we do? I'm laser focused. Nobody can move me off of what we're going to do now. And I wasn't like that before. Clearly, I was like, hey, we'll open a call center. What? You know what I'm saying? And so now I'm growing my real estate business, my real estate team, my organization, and you literally cannot talk me out of it. So you know what? It was, at the time, it felt like I was stupid, and I mean, just my gosh, right? But there's no such thing as failure. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I would say, to add to that, because I remember when that was going on, and that was, that was a really cool experience to watch, because it was successful, yet was keeping them from, kind of keeping them from real success. I'd say, one of the lines that we coined last year in our seminars and programs was, the path to success is through the field of failure. And I truly believe that there's no way to get to success. I would almost say there's no success without failure. And I'm going to reserve that to say maybe somebody's figured that part out and had a blip experience, but I guarantee they just haven't been around long enough, because it will fall out. It just going to. And I had it so many times, and we failed with sales teams, and to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars where it just didn't work. I remember when we were doing everything ourselves in my former company, and we didn't have any leverage. I mean, that was a great failure. I mean, it was like, how hard can we work? We were doing 250 days on the road together, then we were 250 days on the road each apart, and we had no life, we had no success. I mean, what was success at that point? I mean, like, where would you possibly have that come from? And the answer was we didn't. We were achieving certain milestones, but we had no success. So to me, it's, I think you learn from every one of those failures. And they're not failures, they are just those learning experiences. Hard when you're in one, to lose stuff. I mean, in 2008 through 2010, lost my butt. I mean, just tragically lost so much. because of mistakes that were made. And, still, you learn from it and you go, okay, next chance around, next time I have that experience, I'll do it differently. And that's where awareness comes from. And that's why it's so hard to succeed without failure. It's just kind of not possible.
Well, I will say those are both great answers, and I'm very excited, hopefully later on this week or at another time, to kind of hear some of those 2008 to 2010 learnings from you, but we'll save that. I digress. We'll save that for a later conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I have Scar. Can I turn over? Scars are on the back here.
That will take its own session. So, going back to kind of the theme of this growth mindset and to build a winning business and so forth, is there a difference between growth and winning? Like, can an individual win but not grow at the same time? And maybe vice versa. I mean, it sounds like, as you mentioned, individuals grow, but you don't always win. So how is that? Are they always the same thing? Are they two separate concepts? How do you kind of frame that with your team and throughout your career?
Michael, if you don't mind, I want to read this. I'm not sure if you saw, but someone wrote in, being in a position to run Jim Rohn's company at the age of 24, it's an incredible feat that takes tremendous amount of skill and vision. What does Don recommend in order to strengthen their vision? And so I wanted to see if Don want to answer that real quick, and then we'll move forward.
Sure. Yes. So what does Don recommend to young?
I had an answer too.
Strengthening vision. So I think Keith, I do believe in the bigness of thinking and getting around, and Allison hit on this earlier. It's really getting around people who hold you to a higher place, and who you are around really absolutely matters. And so you'll gain vision from other people, because again, until your own experiences get to be greater, that's where I was. I was 24. I mean, how much possible experience could I have? 6, 7, 8 years worth of business at best.
Yeah, you gave him credit for having skill and vision.
People.
Oh, sorry. You gave him credit for having skill and vision. No, and I was like, how much skill did you have at 24? So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's who you're around, Keith, is way underestimated and way more powerful than we know. Yeah.
And so, Michael, yes, is there a difference between growth and winning? I really think you've got it. That's really in the why. It's defining it. I think there might be, people have different values. And so I really think it's what you value. I mean, do you value winning? And then what is winning, right? I mean, that's not really answering a question with a lot of questions. But for me, winning is succeeding with a team and other people growing with you. I would never want to think, I was thinking I wouldn't want to win the lottery. That's not true. That's just right straight to the top. However, if you're going to get there in a journey that's not just, winning the lottery, right? I want to do it with a group of like-minded people where we all go up together. I wouldn't just want to be one person at the top. And that's how I define winning. I think there are people out there that scare me, right? That just want it all and they want to buy themselves and they'll take what they can get to. And they define that as winning. And so, the difference between growth and winning is really in the definition of the person and those values.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly say, Allison's office is right above me, so I can hear her through her voice, and I can also hear her through the show. But she's directly above me. That's her office. It's the same office as mine. And what's interesting is during the day, Michael, you could hear several times a day, "Hey, hashtag winning," and I'll yell up to where we'll get on our walkie-talkies and hashtag winning. So that means an individual thing that's happening, something that somebody new just joined our team, somebody else just changed something, some great thing happened. But that has nothing to do with, like, growth is from the inside. And and to a large extent, there are people who have achieved much and don't feel winning because inside they're so hollow that really growth is about what's going to make winning possible. It's going to make winning and losing feel more fulfilling and be a better part of life.
Phenomenal. And that was both great responses. Keith and others, and I'm sure there's other questions coming up. You can actually drop them. There's a little Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen if you're on this that you can drop them into as well. So we'll make sure to cover any other questions that come on. One thought just in follow-up, and you folks have me both fired up as I always am when I talk with you on this, is for me personally, how I kind of look at this is the accomplishments, right? Perhaps winning against that goal or whatever. And then the growth is your rate of getting there and your rate of kind of personal or professional development, right? And so if you're, I think, you know, as long as you're growing, you aren't going to win every single time, right? But as long as you're growing and you for me personally, and I think for a lot of people within kind of the success and professional and personal development communities, a lot of it is about, okay, what is my potential? And am I undershooting or overshooting that? And, you know, I think lost potential is, you know, one of the tragedies, unfortunately, of life. And so this drives right into kind of the next bucket here is having a winning mindset, you know, also means setting goals, right? And I know you folks are both very goal driven. What comes first though? The mindset or the goal?
Oh my goodness. Is that the chicken or the egg?
Allison, take
I
it.
mean, it's the mindset. You gotta have a belief. So your mindset is basically, it will determine what your goals are. And actually, I love this story. It's the mindset is reflected to me. And I was just talking to a guy who's joined our team. He's a brilliant online marketer. I call him the little wizard behind his back. He does not know that. And why is he a little wizard? Because he told me a story about how if he trusted someone, if he left, he could have said, if I left $50 on the table and drove down the street to buy lunch, I would trust this guy. He said, if I left $500,000 on the table and flew to Bora Bora for 2 months. And I was like, oh my God, that is so funny. I was just so amazed and also impressed by the fact that that is the way that he's thinking. That's his mindset. So what do you think his goals are, right? And so that really defines that, and understanding, one, that you can achieve the biggest thing you can literally conceive. I think that's actually a line, and that you're worth it, because that's another big thing I watch. People don't succeed because they really ultimately don't believe they are worth it in their heart and their mind. So, but I mean, I think that answers goals. The goals are defined by the mindset. In my mind. And
I'm not gonna push back, because I just want to offer people a perspective on it, because I totally agree. Mindset's been what I believe it's all about to begin with. So I'm not gonna argue. What I do think is that there's an interesting place where goals can sometimes, when we get lit up on a goal, it begins to shift our potential and begins to let us see possibilities in ourselves. And then it begins to elevate our mindset. So I could be down in the dumps, but if I get turned on to something and that's what I want, it could be the thing that fires me up and changes my mindset. So I would just offer that as a possible solution for people, because what I do know is goals impact how we think.
Oh, I love that.
Phenomenal. We have, go ahead.
I said, I love that. It's a completely different take on what I said. It was, you know, that's awesome.
I do as well. I think the two sharpen each other, and that obsession and focus on a goal can help to kind of sharpen that mindset. So we threw a poll out to the audience. Have you ever faced an obsession with your own goals? Let's see the results here. Yes. So 78% have faced an obsession with your own goals. I love hearing that. I think, you know, a fundamental part, without going too tactical, is within the real estate industry, one of the fundamental things that every team lead does, and I know that you do this, Allison, with your team, is you sit down and you set goals with your agents about where they want to go throughout the year. So that you know goes in, I think, directly to the next question, which I wanted to ask, which is, how do you set the right goals, and when do we know that they are unrealistic or realistic? Like how do you kind of judge and say that, hey, go after this, or hey, we need to modify this? Because you're so focused on, like, we can achieve whatever we want, and I believe that, but you may have a new agent that comes in that's like, I want to do, you know, $50 million my first year, and maybe they aren't at that stage. How do you go through this with your team?
Well, I think, well, first of all, that's what drew me to Octum. I mean, when I first talked to Reach and knew what you guys were creating, I mean, it is amazing. I have a productivity coach on our team as well. And so I really value, I value the agents that I work with, and I'm always looking for ways to not only hold them, they want to be held accountable. Our team, they want to know that they're important to us, right? And so Octum gave us a way to track that and to set those goals and then check back each week. Mike, our productivity coach, meets with the agents and I meet with the agents. And so Octum was, like I said, a game changer in that. And then also to create quantifiable data that we can look back and tracking them. But how would we go about an agent that says they want to do 50 million in the first year? My personal thought, I would never tell. I don't think there is too big of a goal. So great, let's do it. And then let's figure out what the first piece to that milestone could be. Because if you turn someone's goals down, if that's what they want to do 50 million in the first year, I'm going to figure out a way to find, I'll help them try it. Let's go. Right. And so, but what's the shortest term? Like, what do we do this month then? And then what do we do next month? Right. And we'll track it. And we have to bring it down a little bit. We turn it up. Right. And so I think having that quantifiable data and a system, which, and by the way, a coach, I mean, that is like the secret sauce, right? Have a coach that can help you define that path to success and join a great team is in my mind really, what goals are all about.
And I'll slip you the 20 in your pocket after for that plug. So thank you very much.
That was true.
Oh, you know how much we love
true.
you. You know how much we love you guys, and honestly, you guys have made a huge difference. And I'm not even going to jump on that answer, because honestly, I think that's really the key. Is there's no such thing to me as an unrealistic goal, and as long as you set people's expectations for it, because again, the old line about I'd rather shoot for the moon or shoot for Mars and fall short at the moon or whatever. Shoot for the farthest reaches and then fall short than to shoot short and achieve it. It's like that's where most people live their lives. They're playing it safe, and so it's hard to lose. And that's how people see it. So they don't set big goals, and they've set goals and missed them, and then let that become who they are, how they think of themselves, and that redefines them badly. And I'm just going to say, the biggest thing is set expectations. I'm going to go for it. And I've had people tell me I shoot high, and then if I see I'm approaching it, I lift the goals. I don't ever achieve my goal. I always set it higher. So I'm always striving, always going for more. And I think that's, sometimes we shoot too low. It's like we just put ourselves in a box.
Phenomenal. So moving on, we talked about kind of the goals and the winning mindset and so forth. So as a leader, how do you make sure that the team that you're leading is aligned with your mindset and that you're aligned with theirs? Like Allison, you had mentioned, this group of like-minded people, right? Is that building culture? Is that within the training? Is that how you recruit? Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's great to have differing opinions and personalities and so forth, but if you aren't on the same page of maybe the core values and mindset, it could, cause some problems potentially on some of the teams maybe that are on this audience right now and thinking about recruiting, but hey, this person maybe doesn't have that same that same mindset or same value or same set of goals. How do you deal with that? I imagine this happens all the time when you're recruiting.
Well, it's funny, it does, and especially with all that our company offers. I mean, this is so fun. I had to learn this, is that, I mean, you talk about recruiting. One of the biggest things is understanding what's important to them. Because what's important to me is increasing the amount of stock I own in my company and growing my revenue share organization. That is really a very, it's not everybody's goal. They want to be with the right broker. They want to be with the right team. They want the right community around them. They want, and so if I was running around trying to recruit agents based on, the opportunity to earn stock and they don't care, well, that's so actually, Gene Fred, he always says, teammate, tell me about you. And so I think that the communication is key, asking the right questions. And then for my team and for, the people that I work with, I think literally a lost art, which I'm actually creating a course, is about how to do masterminds. I really think for internal growth and retention, and also attracting growth, and I think it's kind of a double whammy. And I think my masterminds, where you really get in and you dig deep and you look at people's fears and you learn together, that's kind of goes to personal attraction, but it really helps people to set up, align, and everybody can align right where they are. Because and the biggest thing with that is don't set other people's goals for them.
Phenomenal. Yeah. Don, anything there that you would add?
No, I think, I'm just thinking that, really watching Allison grow, her organization now, it stretches 31 states, something like that. And then you mentioned the UK and India. It's been phenomenal to watch her develop those communication styles, culture building. It's really all about the people, and we're constantly looking for how do we get out of their way, clear the way for them to succeed. I think that's really what it's about. So I think Allison said so many of the right things. It's just culture, communications. Those are the pieces that make people attracted and make them stay. I mean, how do you retain a group? You have to have them loving where they are. And I will add one thing. I guess I will add one thing. It's to help them see the bigger vision for themselves and help them see themselves in a bigger capacity. If I can show them that, people love to be around people who make them feel better and seem bigger and feel greater. And the more we can do that, we love it. First of all, it touches the way we operate, and then of course people love it, and that's why they're staying around and why they're attracted to our group.
Yeah, makes sense. So let's talk about maybe when we're talking about goals, a few things that you mentioned is letting them set their own goals, pushing, for potentially you have a certain profile of, I would say, kind of top performing type A agent that will, hey, I just want to go further and further. But what happens when you get in a situation where they are, that just say underperforming to goals, and to make it even more complicated, that just say it is someone that you believe has that potential to be a top performer, but they aren't hitting that? Is that something where it's just psychological? Is it a mix of that plus looking at what they're actually doing at a granular level on an activity basis? Because so much of, I think, great athletes, right? For example, when we study Michael Jordan, when we study the Tom Brady's of the world, there's this psychology, right, to winning. And even in the technology industry, you have CEOs where they're perform phenomenal and then they get rocked or something is a little bit off. So how do you kind of approach that? If you were to give some just tactical advice to the audience on the line, when you see that happen, you have someone that can perform good, but they aren't hitting their goals, what does that conversation look like? What do you do? And how do you take it forward from there?
You want that one first, Allison?
I can. I was just thinking about Travis. It's just, if Travis, if you're listening, he's won literally 3 years, 4 years. Oh my God. I literally is like a stallion in real estate, right? And I'm just excited that we get to now experience him kind of going into motion. I mean, he's going to kill it in the next year. I know it. But what was coming up for me, Michael, is really meeting people where they are, asking how you can be of service. How can I help? And then really, I think accepting, one of my biggest lessons in leading a big organization is knowing that timing is everything. And your vision for them, no matter how much, you're just going to set yourself up for a whole lot of hurt and suffering and pain if you really allow yourself to plug into that potential. Because I don't know that Travis left our real estate team and came back, and I said he's going to be back, but he went to chase the grass that wasn't greener on the other side. And he had stuff going on. It was timing, right? And so always believing in someone, but also letting them live their own experience, see where you can plug in to help them, share with them the vision that you have with them, and then back away. Let people be and meet them where they are. And that's where you'll attract. I really think that's the law of attraction. You'll be around people that are ready to grow when you're growing, and you're there for them when and if something shifts, if it's not time for them. That was a hard lesson I had to learn, because it's just like heartache. Oh my gosh. Come on.
Yeah. I think, Michael, there's a part too where you can go to them and talk about like what happened that kept you from going where you wanted to go. You saw this vision, you had this thing, this idea. What stops you? Almost always, you said, is it psychological? It absolutely is. There's a deeper level. It probably dates back to way pre-business. It probably has to do with not being good enough, not feeling good enough about themselves, not believing in self. It's somewhere in there, the damage is done. And then we play it out and we think we're in adult bodies, and surely by now we should have outgrown that. But the reality, most of us have never solved that or healed that or dealt with it. So we have those limitations. I think having deep conversations with people, and I know some people as leaders like to keep their distance. Allison dives right in and gets to know people. And if there's tears to shed, then tears to shed. It's the way it goes. And I think that's really where it comes from, is really caring about the people so much that you can get into the mindset behind what's going on, because the lack and limitation is a learned behavior. It was learned probably at a very early age. So lack and limitation are learned, and where they go, well, that's just how I am, or that's just how I've always been, or that's just how my family is. And you go, I know, but you're making now an adult choice, and how can we help you with that? So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is we can help you to get your goals, because it's really about the inside of you.
Phenomenal. One final question, and then I'll kind of do a quick summary. I mean, this is just so packed full of kind of, I think, actionable insights and thinking. We talk, I think about the unsynchronized mindsets and recruiting and taking care of that, and what you just mentioned. So is the best way really to when you're dealing with kind of some sort of conflict there or unsynchronized mindset, do you recommend just to sit down with people? Do you put them in some sort of coaching plan? Are there courses? Are there maybe even, you giving me some great book recommendations? Are there anything out there for the audience that you would say, if you're having this problem, do A, B, C, and that would be something that maybe everyone can write down from the audience and take away as, here's how I can maybe deal with this unsynchronized mindset or underperforming agent to their potential and so forth. If they had to go, we're talking with the president of Success Magazine here, so we need to get that kind of key learning and takeaway from your end, and Allison from yours as well, as we wrap up.
Well, I'll let you go first, Babe, because I think truly I watch this in you, and you exemplify it with your team all the time. So why don't you talk about how you handle that, because you do it so well with people.
Well, I say honestly, and I always seek first to understand, because what they're struggling with, nothing about. You can relate to it, empathize. And I have a really good read on people. Most of the time I actually know before I ask, but I don't assume that I know. It's really about discovering that I know the basics of it, but I don't know the details in their life, and I don't know their perspective on what they're experiencing and why. No idea. I don't know. And so really, I think that's what Dawn said, just really caring about people, wanting to meet them where they are, seek first to understand. You mentioned the word conflict, and that's what got me on that. And then the recommendation, books, I think, just making yourself a study of the people that, find that, Simon Sinek said, I think it was like a worthy opponent. He said, he talked about on stage, he never said who the person was. It was a guy, and he ended up on stage with this guy. But that was the guy he had hated. What did he say? Functional hating, right? Find the person that you hate and go after them. And back into the motivation. But the point is that, how do you deal with that? You go to, you listen. That's why Simon Sinek came up, right? Listen to things that feed your brain, listen to things. And then, once a year, some of the best development was a couple of years that I went through that I really needed to grow myself. And I went to 2 week-long, personal development. I committed myself that year to, this is what I'm going to grow through. And so that's my recommendation to others. If you're leading people that need to grow, making that recommendation of how important that is, and seeking to understand, and then committing it yourself to doing that. So.
Hey, Michael, I don't want this all to end, so we're not going to leave. So you're going to have a hard time kicking us out. But I will say this. I want to recommend a couple things. Last year, it's hard to remember. Hasn't been 3 years this year, but last year we went to Tony's Firewalk, Allison's first time, but my 12th or 13th or 15th time, whatever. And
wait, he actually hold on. He owns the world firewalk record with the longest firewalk. I had to just interject that. Go ahead. For real.
We did 42. We did 42 feet at one point. I don't know if it's still a record. Anyway, that, and then last year we did it with Destiny. So to Allison's point, sometimes programs can be just a game changer for you, and I would recommend those things always. As far as books go, but if you're really diving in and you're going to try and change from the inside out, and you're looking for things that will start to peel those layers back and get you to take a look. One of them that I'd recommend, and I just did it today, is the feelings unburied. No, let's see, feelings. I just recommended it. Feelings buried. Anyway, I'll figure it out before I leave. And the other one is living in the light. And so, feelings that are buried are the problem. And when we bury them, it never goes away. We just put sweet smelling stuff on top of the trash, and then we just end up with the trash, the sweet smelling stuff being feelings buried alive never die. Boom! I knew it would pop in. Feelings buried alive never die. It'd be a great book for people. It's a psychology book. The other one's a little more spiritual. Both of them are very powerful, and you'll find yourself in there somewhere, and you'll start to see that you can actually make changes. It's not scary. And for all that, want to really grow, those are places I would recommend.
Phenomenal. Well, this has been absolutely great. Again, I always love whatever opportunity I get to speak with you. And, at Octum, we tell, companies to focus on, really there's, I would simplify this, and I'm sure I'll get yelled at by the crowd after, but you have your technology, you have your lead acquisition and your marketing, and then you have your team, right? As being kind of three essential pieces of the cake for a successful broker team. And at the end of the day, the agents and then you as a team lead, for everyone out there listening, are the people that comprise that team section. And so if you aren't working on these type of things yourself, your agents won't, and there is that level of the goal setting, developing that winning mindset. That's super important. I love the work on you, work on your business, work in your business. I love that, the sticking to the fundamentals, doing the right thing, doing the habits, and having that growth that will naturally come from it, as we all know. And love just, everything that you talked about on aligning the mindsets, setting goals, and dealing with that. So this has been an absolutely phenomenal session. I think it's so fun because we see both the sessions that were more technology focused and more coaching and accountability focused, tying in, even though this is more focused on mindset, tying into kind of these similar threads throughout Uplift. So again, we're so thankful to have you folks on. I think on behalf of our team, we're really thankful to work with all of you folks. So thank you, Don and Allison. It was great to have you. And for everyone in our audience on the line, we have a next session coming up in a few minutes. We'll have a very short intermission, about a few minutes to grab a water or some food or something. And then we'll have Shauna Gates, who's a senior partner with Craft & Bauer Real Estate, coming up right after, talking about recruiting, onboarding, and retention to grow your business. Again, thank you, Don and Allison. Thank you to our audience. And we'll see you in a few minutes in the next session.
Michael, thank you so much. Michael. This has been amazing.
You're
Reach
awesome.
out if anybody has any questions.
Hello to the team.
If anybody has any questions, we'd love to connect. We put our contact information there. Thanks so much for letting us be part of this, Michael. Thanks, Rish.
Michael, it was an honor.
Bye, guys.
I'm Katie Clancy, host of the Happiest Person in Real Estate podcast and chief house hawker for the Cape House at William Ravis on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. 2020 was a terrible year by most measures. We had huge social